Good morning. Shabbat Shalom to all who are under the sound of my voice, who are seeing. Good morning and Shabbat Shalom to you. Special greetings to the 12 tribes of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who are scattered into the four corners of the earth, according to Bible prophecy, by slavery and oppression. Greetings. Greetings to those that are not of the bloodline of those scattered through slavery, but want to serve the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in spirit and in truth through the line of the tribe of Judah, Messiah, YHWH, and as it were grafted into that scattered nation. Greetings. Blessings upon those that work in the healthcare field, trying to save lives. Blessings upon those that pick up garbage for us to make our places clean. Blessings upon those that make deliveries for us for our convenience. And double blessings on those trying to deliver boys and girls, men and women and children, infants, teenagers from prostitution, child prostitution, sex slavery, human trafficking, pornography, child pornography, pedophilia, and child molestation going on in households all over the United States and in many countries of the world. Curses upon those that participate in these heinous acts and support these disgusting industries, and blessings upon those, double blessings, trying to deliver these people sometimes born into these horrible situations. Finally, blessings upon the homeless. 600,000 men, women, children, and families and veterans in the United States sleeping on the streets, cars, park benches, and boxes. And millions around the world in even worse conditions. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom, and those that are trying to help, blessings upon them. Blessings and greetings to those in the chat. Isha, Sister Junior, Brother Mark, Righteous is the Way, Brother Stephen Kelly. Greetings to y'all, and those watching on YouTube, greetings to y'all. Blessings to also, and greetings to those in Power Talk, whoever they be in Power Talk as well. So we have been studying the prophecy of Jeremiah. And last night we were looking at chapters 45 and 46, which gave a promise to Baruch, the scribe for Jeremiah, as well as talking about the future of the Egyptians, or Mizraim, as they were going to be scattered by Babylon, which is a prelude to future Babylon, which today is led by the children of Yafet. And future Babylon has really scattered the Mizraim. And Babylon, led by the children of Yafet, first by the Medes and the Persians, then by the Greeks, and then finally by the Romans, have basically taken over Egypt and all these other countries we're getting ready to talk about. Today, the focus in chapter 47 and 48 is the Philistines and the Ammonites. The Philistines and the Ammonites. Now, very important, because we're going to be talking about Ammon, Moab, and Edom. Okay, Adam, Moab, and Edom. So we need to get, and I'm going to go over this a couple of times because it can be confusing to some people. Again, this is why I really stress and really admonish you, please prayerfully read the whole Bible. If you just read parts of it, you're going to get confused. More than likely, you're going to get confused. If you just read just the books of Moses, you'll learn a lot, but you won't understand the whole breadth of the Bible. If you only read the New Testament, you'll learn a lot, but you definitely will not get the picture of the whole Bible, of the whole theme, of what the whole plan is. You won't understand it. You think you will, but you won't until you actually read the whole book and put it together. Okay? And especially in this subject here, what we're going to talk about. For example, let's go to Genesis. Let's start off in Genesis, again, from places where we always start. This time, let's start in Genesis chapter 9, though. We started last night in Genesis chapter 10. Let's start in Genesis chapter 9 this time. Genesis chapter 9. Shabbat Shalom, Sister Heavenly Garden. Genesis chapter 9. Noah, who was of Noah's Ark, right? Who was a prophet of the Most High, the son of Lamech, who was the son of Methuselah, who had triplets, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives with Noah and his wife was on board the ark with the animals that were going to be saved alive from the destruction of the worldwide flood that took place. Noah gave what is recorded here in Genesis 9 as his final prophecy. This is the final prophecy you hear from Noah after he was prophesying about the flood. This is the final prophecy you had from Noah in Genesis chapter 9, and it's very important. So let's take a look at it because it affects us to this day. Okay, so let's take a look in Genesis chapter 9. Now, the story as we see here, in fact, let's start at verse 19 to get a let's start at verse 19 to get a context. Genesis chapter 9, beginning at verse 19, I'm going to go down to verse 29. These are the three sons of Noah, and of them was the whole earth overspread. Well, let me go back to 18 because it introduces the three sons again there. Verse 18, and the sons of Noah that went forth of the ark were Shem and Ham and Japheth. And Ham is the father of Canaan. Now, I just want you to understand, people are always confused. There's a verse in chapter 10 of Genesis where people think Japheth was the oldest. Japheth was not the oldest. First of all, they were triplets, and Japheth was the youngest. And how do you know that? Because whenever they're introduced by the order of their birth. That's the way the Bible does it. Everything is by the order of birth. So it always introduces them this way: Shem, Ham, and Japheth. So you know Shem was the firstborn, Ham was the middle child, and Japheth was the last one to come out. So you had triplets. And how do I know they were triplets? Because if you look at Genesis, just to give you an idea of this, when you look at Genesis, and they go through the order of the people that were calling on the Most High, the righteous ones that were of the same spirit of righteousness and faith of righteousness that we follow today. In Genesis chapter 5, for example, when you look at Adam, verse 3, Genesis 5, verse 3 and 4. And Adam lived 130 years and begot a son in his own likeness after his image and called his name Seth. And the days of Adam after he had begotten Seth were 800 years, and he begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Adam lived were 930 years, and he died. And you'll see that repeated. So there's one particular son that's the follower of the Most High. And they'll introduce you that son in this chapter. And then he'll say he had other sons and daughters. But this is the one they had. And they keep going down until you get to Noah. And notice what it says when Noah in verse 32. And Noah was 500 years old when he was 500 years old, and Noah begot Shem, Ham, and Japheth. It doesn't just say one. It doesn't say he had begot other sons and daughters. Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And Noah's wife that begot these came on board the ark with him. So it just introduces them all together and in the order they birth. Okay, and you'll see it again, Shem, Ham, Japheth. You go to Chronicles, and it talks about the history of the genealogy, Shem, Ham, Japheth. Okay, that's the way they always are. Okay, so here, Genesis chapter 9, and we started at verse 18. The sons of Noah that went forth of the ark were Shem and Ham and Japheth. And Ham is the father of Canaan. These are the three sons of Noah, and of them was the whole earth overspread. And Noah began to be an husbandman, and he planted a vineyard, and he drank of the wine, and was drunken, and he was uncovered within his tent. So Noah drank wine, he got drunk, he was uncovered inside his house. In his house, he was naked in his house. Okay, and he was drunk in his house, and he was naked in his house. Okay. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brethren without. Problem. What's the problem? He should have covered his father. But instead, he looked on his father's nakedness, which Leviticus 18 tells us he shouldn't do. Now, I don't want to read into what he did or if he did anything to his father like people try to do. Let's just take it for what it says. He looked on the nakedness of his father. Leviticus 18 tells us you should not look on the nakedness of your father or your mother. It's one of the reasons that the Canaanites were cast out of the land. Leviticus chapter 18, verse 7. The nakedness of thy father or the nakedness of thy mother thou shalt not uncover. She is thy mother. Thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. Okay? He didn't cover his father. He just went and told his brothers, look, daddy's in the house naked. Okay? There you go. Let's continue. Genesis chapter 9, verse 23. And Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it upon both their shoulders and went backwards, so they wouldn't see their father's nakedness, and covered the nakedness of their father. And their faces were backward, and they saw not their father's nakedness. Apparently, it was disrespectful to look on your mother's nakedness or your father's nakedness. Apparently. And Shem and Japheth recognized and did the right thing, whereas Ham stared. Okay. Verse 24. And Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his younger son had done unto him. And he said, cursed be Canaan. A servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren. Now, I don't know why he awoke from his wine and decided to curse his grandson. Canaan was his grandson. And I don't know why he woke, and it was his youngest grandson. So he cursed the grandson when he woke up and found out what Ham had done. He didn't curse all the rest of them, but he cursed Canaan. Cursed be Canaan, he said. A servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren. Blessed be the Most High Yahweh of Shem. And Canaan shall be his servant. So Canaan's going to be the servant of Shem. And the Most High shall enlarge Japheth, and he shall dwell in the tents of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. So he's going to enlarge, and it's just what it sounds like, what it says, enlarge, make big, make great, Japheth, which he's done. And he will dwell in the tents of Shem. That means they're going to try to take Shem's place, which they've done in multiple ways. Christianity tried to take the place of the original Hebrews and tried to subdue the original Hebrews. And then you got Ashkenazis trying to play the role of the original Hebrews and their leaders of their state that the other Japhet tribe, the Japhetic nation set up for them, trying to take the place of Hebrews and dwell in their land. Okay, so this is prophetic. So now we kind of see, now he said Shem and Japheth. Now, both Shem and Japheth had multiple children. So he's talking about them in general. That's as important as we're going to study today. Because the Ammonites are Shemites. Philistine is of Ham. But he dwelt in Canaan's land. Let me say it again. The Philistines, which we're going to talk about today, were of Ham. Let's take a look. Let me show you that. Let me show you that. Genesis chapter 10. Genesis chapter 10. Verse 6. And the sons of Ham, Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. Okay? So he had those sons. 1, 2, 3, 4 sons. Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. They were Hamitic. They were from Ham. So let's go to Canaan and look at his children. Okay? Wait a minute. Okay. Actually, I'm sorry. Canaan didn't beget, even though Philistines dwelt in Canaan's land, it was Mizraim that begot Canaan. Let me get that correct. So let's look at verse 13 of Genesis chapter 10. Genesis chapter 10, verse 13. And Mizraim begot Ludim and Anamim and Lahabim and Naphtuim and Pathrusim and Kasluim, out of whom came Philistine. So the Philistines came from Mizraim's lineage, but they dwelt in Canaan's land. Okay, they dwelt in Canaan's land. They dwelt in the land of Canaan. Okay, so the Philistines came from Mizraim, but they dwelt in the land of Canaan. All right. Now, but Ammonites are different people. They're Semites. Okay, so let's talk about Ammon for a second. So Lot was Abraham's nephew. In other words, Abraham had a brother. His brother had a son named Lot. And Lot, when Abraham left his family, Lot went with him. Okay, so that's where Lot comes from. Okay, now let's see the origin of Ammon and Moab. We just saw the origin of Canaan, and we saw the curse that was placed on them, and Japhet now. We saw that yesterday, Japhet. So today, let's look at the origin of Ammon and Moab. Genesis chapter 19. Genesis chapter 19. Genesis chapter 19. And Lot went up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountain, and his two daughters with him. For he feared to dwell in Zoar, and he dwelt in a cave, he and his two daughters. And the firstborn said unto the younger, Our father is old, and there is not a man in the earth to come in unto us after the manner of all the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. Now they perverted, right? But this is how they were thinking. So he had two daughters that came with him out of Sodom and Gomorrah when it got destroyed. His wife was killed. So now you got Lot and his two daughters, and one of his daughters is thinking, we got to get pregnant by our father. That's what they thought. Okay. Verse 33. And they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father. And he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. Now, I don't know how that works. How do you have sex with somebody and you don't realize you had sex with him? But I guess because he was drunk. The Bible says he was drunk. So maybe they made him drunk and he had sex with him and he didn't realize what he was doing, I guess. Maybe he had a blackout or something. But it does say that. So they made the father drink. The oldest went in, had sex with her father. And it came to pass on the morrow that the firstborn said unto the younger, Behold, I lay yesternight with my father. Let us make him drink wine this night also, and go thou in and lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night also. And the younger arose and lay with him. And he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. Thus were both the daughters of Lot with child by their father. And the firstborn bare a son, and called his name Moab. And the same is the father of the Moabites unto this day. And the younger, she also bare a son, and called his name Bon-Ami. The same is the father of the children of Ammon unto this day. Okay, so that's how you get Moab and Ammon, children of Lot by his daughters, but they were all Semites, right? They're Semites. Now today, the land where Moab and Edom and Ammon dwelt is called Jordan. It's the nation of Jordan. We're going to talk more about that. But let's read more about Ammon and Moab. This is Deuteronomy chapter 2. Deuteronomy chapter 2. Deuteronomy chapter 2. I'm going to read verse 9, and then I'm going to read verse 19. I'm not going to read all in between. I'm going to read verse 9 and then verse 19 of Deuteronomy chapter 2. And Yahweh said unto me, Distress not the Moabites, neither contend with them in battle, for I will not give thee their land for a possession, because I have given Ar unto the children of Lot for a possession. So the Most High was blessing Lot's children in spite of the fact of how they came to be. But he blessed them and said, this is their land. I'm giving them this land. Okay. Verse 19. And when thou comest nigh over against the children of Ammon, distress them not, nor meddle with them. For I'll not give thee the land of the children of Ammon any possession, because I have given it unto the children of Lot for a possession. So he's the Most High blessed Lot. And he blessed Lot's children. And he told the Israelites, don't take their land, because I've given that land to Ammon for Lot's sake, and I've given Moab his land for Lot's sake. And all during Israel's history, these people were fighting with them. These people were fighting with them. And they end up catching judgment. And that's what we're going to find out in Jeremiah. They end up catching judgment. But so now, wait a minute. Let's go with what we got so far. Canaan, his land, he was cursed. Mizraim had a descendant that ended up being the Philistines. They were both Hamitic. And the Philistines dwelt in Canaan's land. Okay? Noah's prophecy said that Canaan was going to be a servant to both the Semites and the children of Japheth. And that the children of Japheth were going to dwell in the tents of Shem. So let's talk about this. So let's talk a little bit about Edom's history. We're going to go more into Edom too, because that's in Jeremiah as well. So Edom had their own land. Matter of fact, in this same Deuteronomy chapter 2, notice what it says, verse 5. Meddle not with them. Let's start at verse 4. And command thou the people, saying, ye are to pass through the coast of your brethren, the children of Esau, which dwell in Seir, and they shall be afraid of you. Take ye good heed unto yourselves, therefore, meddle not with them, for I will not give you their land, no, not so much as the footbreadth, because I have given Mount Seir unto Esau for possession. So Esau was blessed to get his land. Ammon was blessed to get his land, and Moab was blessed to get his land. And all three of these were continually fighting, and hatred was between them and the children of Israel. But the children of Israel are the chosen people of all of them. They're the chosen people. Right? But all of them were blessed because they were the seed. Esau is the seed of Abraham. And Lot is Abraham's cousin, a nephew. So because of that, they got blessed. Okay. Now, the physical Edomites that dwelt in the land, we're going to read, they got scattered. They got placed in captivity. They got scattered. Ammon too. Moab too. But as we know from when we read the scriptures, the Edomites, some of them, not all, okay, you can't categorize everybody as all, okay? But there were Edomites that went north and mixed with Japheth to the point where you had Edomite kings in the days of the Messiah that were over Israel. Herod was an Edomite, and he was over Israel, okay? So you had Edomites, and that was under the control of the Romans, and you had Edomites mixing with Romans, which later on the Edomites, and so Edomites did not worship Yahweh. They had their own God. Moab had their own God. None of them worshiped Yah. Ammon had their own God. They worshiped false gods, but they were Semites. Later on, you had the Edom mixing with Japheth to the point where you get a conversion in the 8th century of Ashkenazis into a religion called Judaism. Now, let me be clear here, because some people get this twisted when I say it. The Talmud was not created in the 8th century. The Talmud was there with the Ashkenazis already, but they didn't call it Judaism. You understand what I said? So, in other words, the Talmud and the teachings in the Talmud were followers. Those pagans followed that stuff along centuries. But when they came and was converting to this new religion called Judaism, they included it with their religion. You would not find a Talmud in the Bible. Any of the principles of Talmud in the Bible. Because it's not biblical. It's pagan. And the people that followed it are pagan. But they try to dwell in tents of Shem. So You have bloodline Edomites that were scattered, that did not go north, that were scattered. And you have people that became converted Edomites. Are you hearing me? Converted. They were not bloodline. They're not Semites, but they were Japhet that was converted and decided that they are the true children of Israel, as it is this day. So that in the Bible, you have prophecies against Edom, and you got prophecies for Edom. The ones for Edom are the bloodline that was scattered, and you'll see that. The ones against them are the spiritual ones that were converted because they are high upon people of the earth. They are rich. They dwell in high places. Like the Bible says, spiritual wickedness in high places. It says that in Obadiah, that they dwell on high. And then Ezekiel puts it, says they're on land that doesn't belong to them. They're on Yah's land. That tells you who they are, the ones that they're talking about. So you got to be able to discern the difference, and you'll see when we read it. But I wanted to give you that overview. Make one more thing about that. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 23. So there are Edomites that are not the so-called white man. And then there are converted Edomites that are. Okay? That are. And they call themselves Jewish. Okay? Deuteronomy chapter 23. Deuteronomy 23. I'm going to start at verse 1. I'm going to start at verse 1, and I'm going to go down from verse 1 down to verse 8. He that is wounded in the stones or hath his privy member cut off shall not enter into the congregation of Yahweh. A bastard shall not enter into the congregation of Yahweh, even to his 10th generation. He shall not enter into the congregation of Yahweh. Now, what does that mean? That means he would not be considered an Israelite until his 10th generation. Okay? He would not be considered an Israelite till his 10th generation. He that is wounded in the stones or has his privy member cut off cannot continue. He cannot have children. Therefore, he cannot be in the congregation. Okay, verse 3. An Ammonite or a Moabite shall not enter into the congregation of Yahweh, even into their 10th generation. They shall they not enter into the congregation of Yahweh forever. 10 generations for the Edomite or the Moabite that wants to be an Israelite, that wants to be called an Israelite. Okay, interesting, because Ruth was a Moabite, but the Israelite had a child with her. Because an Israelite had a child with her, that child's an Israelite. So Ruth and Boaz of Judah had Obed. Obed had Jesse. Jesse had David. They were Israelites. But if it was Ruth with a Moabite husband, they couldn't enter the congregation to the 10th generation. Okay? Here you go. Verse 4. Why? Because they met you not with bread and with water in the way when ye came forth out of Egypt. And because they hired against thee Balaam, the son of Beor, of Pethor, of Mesopotamia, to curse thee. Nevertheless, Yahweh thy Most High would not hearken unto Balaam, but Yahweh thy Most High turned the curse into a blessing unto thee, because Yahweh thy Most High loved thee. Thou shalt not seek their peace nor their prosperity all thy days forever. Thou shalt not abhor, watch, thou shalt not abhor the Edomite, before he is thy brother. Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian, because thou wast a stranger in his land. The children that are begotten of them shall enter into the congregation of Yahweh in their 3rd generation. So the Egyptians, the Mizraim, the Most High has no problem with them. That's why, we have a lot of history with those Hamites, those particular Hamites. Them and Cush, we have a lot of history with them. And so you see them become part of the nation of Israel. Not all Hamite, but these. Okay? Now, Edom, he said he's our brother. That means he's our bloodline brother. Why? Because Jacob and Edom are twins. Edom was the firstborn and Jacob came out after. They're twins. So they're bloodline. He's not talking about us being brothers with Ashkenazi Jewish people. Those are converted Edomites. But the bloodline is our brother. And you know what? The bloodline are melanated. They're not European. They're melanated. Okay, so you got Edomites that are not melanated, that are spiritually converted. Sort of words like as Junja Yafet that are grafted into the children of Israel. You got Japhet that's grafted in to Edom, converts to Edom, proselytes, and they call it Jewish. Now, does that mean that none of them can be saved? No, it doesn't mean that. And we're going to talk about that. Okay, but the bloodline Edomites are mixed with us. They're our brothers. But you don't see them there anymore. They're not in the. I heard people that moved to Jordan based on that information. Those are not the people that originally that was there. The original people are melanated and they've been scattered. Okay, I'm sure some of them are still there. Probably the poorest ones, the ones that are in ghettos. That's how we get treated. Even if we're not Israelites, that's how we get treated. But anyway, now you see that. Okay, and remember these things because we're going to go through this when we look at Jeremiah, and we're looking at Jeremiah 47 and 48. That's why it's going to become important. Okay, I'm gonna go to Daniel, but I'm not going to go to him yet. So let's go now to Jeremiah chapter 47. And you're going to see there's some people, the Most High says, I'm going to bless you in the latter days. And there's some he don't say that about, like the Philistines. Jeremiah chapter 47. Now, the Philistines, if you look up the word Philistine, you will find that it's Palestine. So the land they call Palestine, they're really calling it the land of the Philistines. Why? Because, well, those are the most powerful people on the land of Canaan. Remember, Israel's whole history, they never disbanded. They never kicked the Philistines off that land. They never did. The Philistines worship a god named Dagon, a fish god, because the Philistines were on the coastline. They were fishermen, and they worship Dagon, the fish god. The Pope gives homage to the Philistine fish god in one of his hats that he wears. The hat that he wears that goes like this, has a point at the top. That's honor to Dagon, the fish god of the Philistines. Okay. And you know that David and Saul were raised up to destroy the Philistines. They never completely did it, though. Never completely did it. So let's look at Jeremiah chapter 47. But the Philistines are by no means Yah's people, as you're going to see. Jeremiah chapter 47, beginning at verse 1. Jeremiah chapter 47. Thank you, Brother Williams. Beginning at verse 1. The word of Yahweh that came to Jeremiah the prophet against the Philistines before that Pharaoh smote Gaza. Thus saith Yahweh, behold, waters rise up out of the north, and shall be an overflowing flood, and shall overflow the land and all that is therein, the city and them that dwell therein. Then the men shall cry, and all the inhabitants of the land shall howl, and the noise of the stamping of the hoofs of his strong horses, at the rushing of his chariots, and at the rumbling of his wheels. The fathers shall not look back to their children for feebleness of hands, because of the day that cometh to spoil all the Philistines, and to cut off from Tyrus and Zidon every helper that remaineth. For Yahweh will spoil the Philistines, and the remnant of the country of Captor. Baldness is come upon Gaza. Ashkelon is cut off with the remnant of their valley. How long wilt thou cut thyself, thou, O thou sword of Yahweh? How long will it be ere thou be quiet? Put up thyself into thy scabbard, rest and be still. How can I be quiet, seeing Yahweh hath given a charge against Ashkelon and against the seashore? There hath he appointed it. See, so he doesn't say anything about restoring them. He's naming the cities of the Philistines. Ashkelon is a city in the Philistines. Gaza is a city in the Philistines. He's naming these places and saying they're going to be cut off. They're going to be destroyed. They're going to be scattered. And that's what they are. So the people that are there now, those are not the original Philistines. Those are people that were mixed with children of Yafet. that are called Palestine right now, right? And they're being pushed out, right, for the Ashkenazis, who are spiritual Edomites. Okay, we'll talk more about that when we get to them. But now you go from 47, and now you're talking about now 48. We're talking about Moab, and I think in the title I put Ammon, but it's dealing with Moab first. So let's go there. Jeremiah chapter 48, beginning at verse 1. Now watch what he says about Moab. Against Moab, thus saith Yahweh of hosts, the Most High of Israel. Woe unto Nebo, for it is spoiled. Kiriathaim is confounded and taken. Misgab is confounded and dismayed. I want you to notice too, in each of these places, he names the cities of those nations. He names their major cities to let you know this is the place I'm having destroyed. He names their major cities. Here already, he's named Nebo, Kiriathaim, Misgab. Okay, he's naming the cities that were made up of the nation of Moab. There shall be no more praise of Moab. In Heshbon, they have devised evil against it. Come and let us cut it off from being a nation. Also, thou shalt be cut down, O madmen. The sword shall pursue thee. A voice of crying shall be in Horonaim, spoiling and great destruction. Moab is destroyed. Her little ones have caused a cry to be heard. For in the going up of Luith, continual weeping shall go up. For in the going down of Horonaim, the enemies have heard a cry of destruction. Flee, save yourselves, and be like the heath in the wilderness. For because thou hast trusted in thy works, in thy treasures, thou shalt also be taken. And Chemosh shall go forth into captivity with his priests and his princes together. Chemosh was the name of the god that the Moabites worship. And he said, they're going into captivity. See? Verse 8. And the spoiler shall come upon every city, and no city shall escape. The valley also shall perish, and the plain shall be destroyed, as Yahweh hath spoken. Give wings unto Moab, that it may flee and get away. For the cities thereof shall be desolate, without any to dwell therein. Cursed be he that doeth the work of Yahweh deceitfully, and cursed be he that keepeth back his sword from blood. Moab hath been at ease from his youth. He hath settled on his leaves, and hath not been emptied from vessel to vessel. Neither hath he gone into captivity. Therefore his taste remaineth in him, and his sin is not changed. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that I will send unto him wanderers, that shall cause him to wander, and shall empty his vessels and break their bottles. And Moab shall be ashamed of Chemosh, as the house of Israel was ashamed of Bath-el, their confidence. Let's stop right here for a second. Bath-el was in Ephraim. Initially, Bath-el was where the Ark of the Covenant started, because Ephraim was led by Joshua, who led the children of Israel into the promised land. And so the Ark of the Covenant stayed with Joshua, and it was in Bethel. But later on, under Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, they started worshiping calves at Bethel, golden calves. And they set up a false temple, and they set up their own feast, and they ended up being destroyed. That's why he said Moab is going to be ashamed of Chemosh, as the house of Israel was ashamed of Bath-el, their confidence. They started trusting in false gods. Chemosh was also a false god. And so he's going to say, I'm going to cause Moab, Lot's children, to go into captivity. And they're going to be ashamed of their false god. Okay, let's continue. Verse 14. How say ye, we are mighty and strong, men for war? Moab is spoiled and gone up out of her cities, and his chosen young men are going down to the slaughter, said the king, whose name is Yahweh of hosts. The calamity of Moab is near to come, his affliction hastens fast. Ye that are about him bemoan him. All ye that know his name say, how the strong staff is broken, and the beautiful rod. Thou daughter that does inhabit Dibon, come down from thy glory, and sit in thirst, for the spoiler of Moab shall come upon thee. He shall destroy thy strongholds. O inhabitant of Arar, stand by the way and espy, and ask him that fleeth and her that escapeth, and say, what is done? Moab is confounded, for it is broken down. Howl and cry, tell ye it in Arnon, that Moab is spoiled. So the Babylonian kings were going to come and destroy Moab and put them in captivity. Okay? Just like spiritual Babylon has come and destroyed Moab and put it in captivity. So that the land of Jordan is not Moabite anymore. It is not Ammon anymore. It is not Edom anymore. See, if those were the original inhabitants of the land, they still have those names. But the names have been changed. Mizraim was the name that is called Egypt until the Greeks came, and now it's Egypt. That alone tells you it's not the original people. It's not the original name. Why would Ammon change the name of his father, Lot? That was, or the father Ammon that started the nation. No, Jordan is changed to Jordan because later the Muslims came and took it over. And the Muslims came out of the north and took it over. Okay, they came out of the north and took it over. Just like the Christians came out of the north and took over also. Okay, so that's why it's changed. So that's not Edom, Moab, and Ammon anymore. And those people are not those people. The people are the original people. Okay, that's why they all are much lighter skin. You notice, because initially they were all darker, melanated people, but not anymore. If you see ancient statues of places like Elam, which is now Iran, you'll see black people. Those statues are black people. But now they don't look like that no more. It's different because they've been overrun by Islam and Christianity. Okay, they've been overrun by the children of Japhet, right? And then, of course, Mohammedism, which Muhammad was, I'm assuming he was an Arab and a Semite, but they overran the whole place. Okay, and the people here, even by ancient time, were scattered already. Scattered. Okay, here you go. Jeremiah chapter 48, verse 21. And judgment is come upon the plain country, upon Holon, and upon Yahaza, and upon Mafaath, and upon Dibon, and upon Nebo. See, he's naming all the cities. And upon Bath Dibla Thaim, and upon Kiriah Thaim, and upon Bath Gamul, and upon Bath Meon, and upon Kirioth, and upon Basra, and upon all the cities of the land of Moab, far or near. The horn of Moab is cut off, and his arm is broken, saith Yahweh. He's making it plain. They're being scattered. They're not going to be a nation anymore like that. Okay, that's why, you know, if he's doing this, the nation you see there now is not the same people, not the same nation. Okay. Verse 26. Make ye him drunken, for he magnified himself against Yahweh. Moab also shall wallow in his vomit, and he also shall be in derision. For was not Israel a derision unto thee? Was he found among thieves? For since thou spakest of him, thou skippest for joy. O ye that dwell in Moab, leave the cities and dwell in the rock. Be like the dove that maketh her nest in the sides of the hole's mouth. We have heard pride of Moab. He is exceeding proud. His loftiness and his arrogancy and his pride and his haughtiness of his heart. Just stop for a second. Notice pride, loftiness, arrogancy, haughtiness. The Most High will destroy all nations that have these character traits. Well, let me ask you, do you suppose that there's any nations today that have character traits of arrogancy, loftiness, pride, and haughtiness of heart? Do you suppose that exists anywhere? Are there any powerful nations today that exhibit these qualities? Well, if there are, you can see what's going to happen to them. You can see what happened to Moab, who at least was a relative of Abraham. You can see what's going to happen to them. Oh, yes. The Bible says the whole Babylon is proud. Wait, let me show you that. Revelation chapter 18. Revelation chapter 18. Revelation chapter 18. I'm going to start at verse 1 and read down to verse 8. And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven having great power. And the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and it's become the habitation of devils, in the hole of every foul spirit, in the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Those are the corporations. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and Yahweh hath remembered her iniquities. Reward her, even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works. In the cup which she hath filled, filled to her double. Watch verse 7. How much she hath glorified herself, and lived deliciously. So much torment and sorrow give her, for she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death, and mourning, and famine. And she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Most High Yahweh that judgeth her. So now we know what's coming on a worldwide basis. Now, again, I want to stress, it's going to be hotter in some places, physically, literally, spiritually, than others. For example, it's going to be hotter in the USA than any place else, because they're carrying out the orders of Rome, and they're proud and arrogant and haughty. We know that. I think that's pretty obvious. So it's going to get hottest here. Not only that, they have treated Judah the worst. So it's going to get real hot here. Okay? It's going to get real hot over there in Italy. It's going to get real hot over there. Seed of the beast going to get real hot. But it's going to happen all over the world. People are going to be struggling, but there are some places that it's going to be worse than others. So I'm trying to tell you, even though you could go to other nations and it will be better for you probably than the United States of America, don't think you're escaping anything, because it's coming everywhere. Okay, it's coming everywhere. It's worldwide. But go where the Most High leads you to go. Okay, go where the Most High Spirit leads you to go. I admonish you to do that, because you will never be wrong if you're led by His Spirit. Don't go by your own human judgment, because you're going to make a mistake. You go by your judgment, you're going to make a mistake. Make sure you're praying that the Most High will lead you where you're supposed to go by His Spirit. It's a spiritual war, and the Spirit of the Father will lead you where you're supposed to go if you're listening. If you're listening, I admonish you to listen, and He will guide you. His Spirit and His Word will guide you. Okay? Verse 48. Beginning at verse 48 of Jeremiah 48. Jeremiah 48, beginning at verse 29. We have heard the pride of Moab. He is exceeding proud. His loftiness and his arrogancy and his pride and the haughtiness of his heart. I know his wrath, saith Yahweh, but it shall not be so. His lies shall not so affect it. Therefore will I howl for Moab. I will cry out for all Moab. Our heart shall mourn for the men of Ker-Heriz. O vine of Sibma, I will weep for thee with the weeping of Jazer. Thy plants are gone over the sea. They reach even into the sea of Jazer. The spoiler is fallen upon thy summer fruits and upon thy vintage. And joy and gladness is taken from the plentiful field and from the land of Moab, for I have caused wine to fail from the wine presses. None shall tread with shouting. Their shouting shall be no shouting. For the cry of Heshbon, even unto Eliah, even unto Jahaz, have they uttered their voice. from Zoar even to Haranaim, as an heifer of 3 years old. For the waters also of Nimrim shall be desolate. He's naming all the places. Moreover, I will cause to cease in Moab, saith Yahweh, him that offereth in the high places, and him that burneth incense unto his gods. Therefore, my heart shall sound for Moab like pipes. My heart shall sound like pipes from men from Kirhathes. From Kirhathes, because of the riches that he hath gotten are perished. For every head shall be bald, and every beard clipped. Upon all the bands shall be cuttings, and upon the loins sackcloth. There shall be a lamentation generally upon all the housetops of Moab, in the streets thereof. For I have broken Moab like a vessel, wherein is no pleasure, saith Yahweh. They shall howl, saying, how is it broken down? How hath Moab turned back with shame? So shall Moab be a derision and a dismaying to all them about him. For thus saith Yahweh, behold, he shall fly as an eagle, and shall spread his wings over Moab. Kerioth is taken, and the strongholds are surprised. Mighty men's hearts in Moab at that day shall be as the heart of a woman in her pangs. Moab shall be destroyed from being a people. Moab shall be destroyed from being a people. That means they won't be an official nation of Moab anymore. Well, there's not. Now it's Jordan. Whole different thing. Okay? Whole different thing. Because he hath magnified himself against Yahweh. Fear in the pit. The snare shall be upon thee, O inhabitant of Moab, saith Yahweh. He that fleeth from fear shall fall into the pit, and he that getteth up out of the pit shall be taken in the snare. For I will bring upon it, even upon Moab, the year of their visitation, saith Yahweh. They that fled stood under the shadow of Heshbon because of the force, because a fire shall come forth out of Heshbon, a flame from the midst of Sihon, and shall devour the corner of Moab, and the crown of the head of the tumultuous one. Woe be unto thee, O Moab! The people of Chemosh perisheth, for thy sons are taken captives, and thy daughters captives. Watch verse 47. Yet will I bring again the captivity of Moab in the latter days. Thus far is the judgment of Moab. So yet I will bring the captivity of Moab in the latter days. So he's going to deliver some Moabites. He did not say that about Philistines. If you notice, he didn't say that about them. But about Moab, he said, I'm going to bring back your captivity in the latter days. Why? Now we go to Daniel. Daniel chapter 11. Daniel chapter 11. Watch Daniel 11. Again, in Daniel 11, you end up at the end of Daniel 11 with the king of the north and the king of the south. Okay? King of the north is Rome. King of the south is Islam. Okay? King of the south is Islam. King of the north is Rome. Now look at the history. It starts here when you go to verse 40. Because Islam came up later, and Islam is actually the newest of the religions of Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. Judaism is actually the newest one, but then Islam before that, and then Christianity. Christianity is first, then Islam, then Judaism. And so watch what it says about them. Because remember the Ottoman Empire. Remember the Ottoman Empire. Okay? Verse 40. Daniel chapter 11, verse 40. And at the time of the end shall the king of the south push at him, and the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind, with chariots and with horsemen and with many ships. And he shall enter into the countries and shall overflow and pass over. What we talking about? So Islam pushed against Rome. They came at Rome. That was the Ottoman Empire. The Muslims were trying to take over everything. They had taken over what we now know as the Middle East. They were going into Africa and forcing, at the point of a sword, people to convert or die. This religion of peace. And they tried to come against Rome, and they came into what we now know as Turkey, and that's as far as they got. And Rome pushed them, was able to push them back. And so that's why you got as far as Turkey. And they changed. At that time, Rome had two capitals. One was called Constantinople from Constantine, and the other one was Rome. They took over Constantinople, the Muslims did, and changed the name. To this day, it's called Istanbul, one of the biggest Muslim cities in the world. Istanbul. That's the king of the south coming against the north, but repel, right? And when he says he shall come against the north, shall respond with chariots and whirlwind. Why do you think all of these military exercises have been going on against Muslim countries? They ain't forgot that. See, that's the Bible. They ain't forgot that. All these military exercises against Muslim countries, killing men, women, and children with drones. Okay? Because it's prophesied. Okay, and here you go. So now after he goes and Rome takes over and beats down Islam, which is what's going on, shall come against him like a whirlwind with chariots, with horsemen, with many ships. You say, how is he doing? How is Rome doing that? Through his muscle. The muscle. What's Rome's muscle? Come on, tell me. Who's the muscle of Rome? Who carries out the orders? The lamb-like beast of Revelation, chapter 13, verse 11. The one that looks like a lamb and speaks like a dragon. Carries out the orders. He exercises all the power of the first beast before him. There you go. So led by the United States, you got Britain, you got all these other nations getting involved also, but they are spanking all the Muslim countries. We know, I mean, look back. I mean, it's now proven. I'm not talking about a conspiracy theory. When I say we now know Saddam Hussein had no weapons of mass destruction. He did not have anything to do with 9/11. Yet the first thing George Bush did was attack Iraq, a Muslim country. That's the first thing he did. And Saddam Hussein used to work with the U.S. He attacked Iraq. He attacked Libya, a Muslim country. Chased homie, what's his name, until he was killed. The leader, Muammar Gaddafi, until he was killed. Bombing Afghanistan. Okay? Kuwait was an ally, but the war was there too. Who are they killing? Muslims. Who are they killing? Muslims. So, brethren, Syria, Aleppo, go look that up. Who they killing? Muslims. Brethren, they don't forget. That's prophecy right there. Okay? But let's continue. Verse 40, I'm going to read verse 40 again. The time of the end shall the king of the south push at him, and the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind with chariots and with horsemen, with many ships, and he shall enter into the countries and shall overflow and pass over. Watch. He shall enter also into the glorious land. That's the land of Israel. And many countries shall be overthrown. But these shall escape out of his hands or be delivered, even Edom and Moab and chief of the children of Ammon. The word chief means first fruits. So they are first fruits of Ammonites, Moabites, and Edomites that's going to be delivered. Why? Amos. Chapter, let's go to Amos. See why you got to read the whole Bible? Amos chapter 9. Amos chapter 9. I'm going to start Amos chapter 9. I'm going to go from verse 7. I'm going to go from verse 7 down to verse 15. Amos chapter 9. Watch carefully. Amos chapter 9. Are ye not as children of the Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel? Why you call them Ethiopians? Could it be they look similar? Cush is Ethiopia. Are ye not as the children of the Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel? Saith Yahweh. Have not I brought up Israel out of the land of Egypt, and Philistines from Caphtor, and the Syrians from Ker? Behold, the eyes of the Most High Yahweh are upon the sinful kingdom, and I will destroy it from off the face of the earth. Saving, I will not utterly destroy the house of Jacob, said Yahweh. For lo, I will command, and I will sift the house of Israel among all nations, like as corn is sifted in a sieve. Yet shall not the least grain fall upon the earth. So that when they're getting the grain, they sift out the chaff and only leave the grain. They use a thing to shift out. And he said, I'm going to sift the children of Israel from all the nations, whether y'all be scattered. But I'm not going to lose one of you. Verse 10, all the sinners of my people shall die by the sword, which say the evil shall not overtake nor prevent us. Those are the sellouts. In that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen and close up the breaches thereof. And I will raise up his ruins and I will build it as in the days of old. Now watch verse 12. That they may possess the remnant of Edom and of all the heathen which are called by my name. Saith Yahweh that doeth it. So there's going to be heathen, Edom, Moab, Ammon, bloodline, called by Yah's name. That's going to come to him like Mizraim, as we read yesterday, as Assyria. There's going to be heathen from the Hamitic people, from the Semitic people of the bloodline that are called Gentile, that are going to come to the truth. And they're going to be with us. They may possess the remnant of Edom and of all the heathen which are called by my name, saith Yahweh that doeth this. Behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that the plowman shall overtake the reaper, and the treader of grapes him that soweth seed. And the mountain shall drop sweet wine, and all the hills shall melt. And I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel, and they shall build the waste cities and inhabit them, and they shall plant vineyards and drink the wine thereof. They shall also make gardens and eat the fruit of them, and I will plant them upon their land, and they shall no more be pulled up out of their land, for which I have given them, said the Most High Yahweh. Yahweh thy Most High. Yeah. And this was talking about the northern tribes, because Amos was a prophet of the northern kingdom. So he's going to gather, he said, I'm going to sift them from all the nations whither I scattered them. That's the northern kingdom. See, most of us here are the southern kingdom. We come out to West Africa from the southern kingdom. No, I'm telling you, the northern kingdom of them Indians. Go ahead and read Hosea and Amos. Please read it before you decide they're not. And forget them, what's the book called? Apocrypha. Read the Bible and read Moab, read the book of Hosea and the book of Amos. These were two prophets of the northern kingdom. Read them and you will see these brothers, these Indians scattered all over there. He said, I'm going to gather them. I'm going to gather them together. And I'm going to bring them back. My people. Praise the Most High. We saw a lot of them when we went to Mexico. We saw a lot of them when we went there. So let's go back to Daniel for a second. So we were talking about Daniel. We were reading Daniel 11. I got a little distracted here. Daniel chapter 11. But he said he's going to deliver Daniel 11. Where were we? Okay, yeah. So he said, verse 41, he shall enter into the glorious land, and many countries shall be overthrown, but these shall escape out of his hand, even Edom and Moab and chief of the children of Ammon. So it's not saying that the nation of Jordan is some place that we should be hiding in. I've talked to people that have actually went there based on this verse, thinking that place is going to be protected. It's not. Those are not the original Edom, Moab, and Ammon. It's just that's the land they own, which means they're going to have to be destroyed off that land, so that just like the fake Israelites going to be destroyed off that land, so that the true ones can come back to their land. You're following me? Okay, so you see the true Israelites are going to come back to their land. Messiah is going to come and destroy all of the fake ones off the land. Well, he's going to do the same with Jordan, because he just already said, I'm going to bring them back from their captivity. He's going to do the same thing. But those are going to be them that follow the Most High, that are called by his name. And we're going to possess them. We're not necessarily they're going to be in chains. They're not going to be on chains, but we're going to be above them in the kingdom. Okay? But they're going to possess their land again. They're going to be back on their land. Only thing, we're not going to be fighting with them as we did in the past, because we're all going to be serving the same God. There'll be no more Chemosh. Okay? There'll be no more different false gods. So, yes. So when it says he's going to deliver them, that's what it means. Don't think that any place in the so-called Middle East is safe. It's not. It's not. Okay? Especially those nations that recognize Israel as a nation. When they recognize the state of Israel, that's a problem. That's the problem to the Most High. Not all of them do, but Jordan does. So, yeah, that's a problem. There's that. Let's continue. Let's finish here. Daniel chapter 11, talking about the king of the north, which is the Babylonian system led by Rome. The whore riding the beast. That's what the king of the north represents. The whore riding the beast. Verse 42. He shall stretch forth his hand also upon the countries, and the land of Egypt shall not escape. See, those are not the original people that's dominating that land. But he shall have power over the treasures of gold, silver, and over the precious things of Egypt, and the Libyans and the Ethiopians shall be at his steps. But tidings out of the east and out of the north shall trouble him. Therefore he shall go forth with great fury to destroy and utterly make away many. Yeah, the message of the 144,000 are going to cause a problem for the Babylonian kingdom. And they're going to try to attack that problem. Whosoever would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. That you not be able to buy or sell, save you had the mark of the beast or his name or the number. So if you're in the wrong system, you can buy and sell. You won't be killed. They won't be coming at you. But you'll know you're in the right system when they block all your bank accounts, when they block all your ability to buy and sell, when you can't work, when you have nothing but the clothes on your back. Now you know you're in the right spot. Now you'll know. Okay, you won't have to worry about a computer chip or RFID chip or a shot. Don't worry about that. You'll see. And he shall plant the tabernacles of his palace between the seas and the glorious holy mountain. Yet he shall come to his end, and none shall help him. That's Judaism in Jerusalem right now. All of Jerusalem, Israelites, the Judaism, practices of Judaism, practice of Islam are all under the umbrella of the great whore. They're under her and her beast system. All of them. So when it says plant the tabernacle of his palace between the sea, the Judaism, the Jewish people that are there now from Poland and Russia, where they come from, they don't belong there, but they're under the auspices of the Pope. His blessing keeps them there. And it's prophetic. And it's coming. 12 is coming next. 12:1 is coming next. We're not reading that right now, but yeah, that's coming next. But anyway, so you can see the Philistines were destined to be destroyed, not be a people anymore. The Moabites were destined to be going into captivity, a nation not be a nation anymore. But they were going to be brought back from their captivity in the latter days, which is going to happen. I don't know who the true Moabites and Edomites and Ammonites are today. I can't tell you I know who they are, which one of the people that they are. But you can tell who they are because they're being oppressed like us. They're not sitting on top of corporations. They're not controlling oil, not the true ones. They're the ones being oppressed. That's how you'll know. The ones brought into captivity. Okay. And they probably look like us because they're all melanated people. We don't know who they are. They're probably in Africa mostly, but you'll see remnants of them in those lands. The small part, the remnant of them, the minority, that's the word I'm looking for. The minority in those lands that are the poorest ones, look them up. Those are the ones that are there, but you won't want to live there. Okay. Just my advice. So praise the Most High. So that was Jeremiah chapter 47 and 48. We'll go next is the Ammonites, chapter 49. The next is the Ammonites, chapter 49. I got to change my title for this one. But we'll start chapter 49 after the break. Is now 12:32. We'll probably come back, I guess, at 1:15, about 45 minutes from now, and we'll look at chapter 49. And chapter 50, we're not going to do this weekend. That's for next week because chapter 50 is the judgment on Babylon, which is, again, a dual prophecy on Babylon then and Babylon now. And you're going to see very similar words that's used in the book of Revelation to describe Babylon then. Almost exact words you're going to see. And you'll get more detail, chapter 50 and 51 of Jeremiah. Okay. I think that's after that, it's just chapter 52. And I believe that at that point we're at the end of Jeremiah. Yeah, chapter 52 is the last chapter of Jeremiah. So we're coming to the end, but I want to save chapter 50. It's going to take us a minute to go through that, not only because it's long in terms of how many verses it is, but because of what it means to us today. So we'll be spending a lot of time in Jeremiah chapter 50 and 51. We'll be looking also at Revelation, and we'll be looking at Daniel when we study these things. But this next one, we're going to be dealing with Ammon. We're going to be dealing with Edom. In chapter 49, you're going to be dealing with Elam. You're going to be dealing with Elam, Ammon, Edom. You're going to be dealing with them. But overall, the message as far as these nations I wanted to display is that if he's not like the Philistines completely destroying them, he is, like Moab, going to preserve them and cause them to come back to the land that's theirs, that was taken from them, from the peoples of the north. And so that's really the thing here, right? So we'll come back at about 1:15 and study chapter 49. In the meantime, the Most High bless you and keep you and cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you and lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom.